Welcome back to Your U.S.A. This is going to be the fifth installment of Knowing Our Constitution. Today we're going to go through Amendments 11 through 20. Alright guys, going to dive right in. We're going to start with Amendment 11. This is our fifth episode. There's going to be 6 episodes to this series of Knowing Our Constitution, so the next one will be the last. I know this has been a long time coming. Now that we're going to be done with this, we're going to be able to start talking about rubber meets the road Constitution practicing, so we can see exactly what the politicians are doing that are violating the Constitution. As far as a plain American standpoint, obviously the Supreme Court doesn't think so, but that's what this channel's about. So let's jump right into it. Amendment 11 says the judicial power of the United States shall not be construed to extend to any suit in law or equity commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States by citizens of another state or by citizens or subject of any foreign state. I can't sue a different state if I don't live there. Amendment 12. The electors shall meet in their respective states and vote by ballot for president and vice president, one of whom at least shall not be an inhabitant of the same state with themselves. They shall name in their ballots the person voted for as president, and in distinct ballots the person voted for as vice president. And they shall make distinct lists of all persons voted for as president, and of all persons voted for as vice president, and of the number of votes for each, which lists they shall sign and certify and transmit sealed to the seat of the government of the United States, directed to the President of the Senate. The President of the Senate shall, in the presence of the Senate and House of Representatives, open all the certificates, and the votes shall be counted. The person having the greatest number of votes for president shall be president, if such number be a majority of the whole number of electors appointed. This is basically going through the Electoral College. Then, from the persons having the highest number not exceeding 3 on the list of those voted for as president, the House of Representatives shall choose immediately by ballot the president. But in choosing the president, the vote shall be taken by states, the representation from each state having 1 vote. A quorum for this purpose shall consist of a member or members from 2/3 of the states, and a majority of all the states shall be necessary to a choice. The person having the greatest number of votes as vice president shall be the vice president, if such a number be a majority of the whole number of electors appointed. But no person constitutionally ineligible to the office of president shall be eligible to that of vice president of the United States. You have to meet the same requirements. Amendment 13, one of the more famous ones, Section 1 of that amendment is neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. No more slavery. Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Amendment 14, Section 1. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the states wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person without its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws, allowing anybody who's born here the ability to vote. Also, this is just extending the initial purpose of the Constitution to every citizen within. Section 2. Representatives shall be apportioned among the several states according to their respective numbers, counting the whole number of persons in each state. But when the right to vote at any election for the choice of electors for President and Vice President of the United States, representatives in Congress, the executive and judicial officers of a state, or the members of the legislation thereof, is denied to any of the male inhabitants of such states, being 21 years of age and citizens of the United States, or in any way abridged, except for participation in rebellion or other crime. The basis of representation therein shall be reduced in the proportion which the number of such male citizens shall bear to the whole number of male citizens 21 years of age in such state. Section 3 of Amendment 14. No person shall be a senator or representative of Congress, or elector of president and vice president, or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state, who having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid and comfort to the enemies thereof. But Congress may, by a vote of 2/3 of each house, remove such disability. Section 4. The validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, including debts incurred for payment of pensions and bounties for services in suppressing insurrection or rebellion, shall not be questioned. But neither the United States nor any state shall assume or pay any debt or obligation incurred in aid of insurrection or rebellion against the United States, or any claim for the loss of emancipation of any slave, but all such debts, obligations, and claims shall be held illegal and void. Section 5. The Congress shall have power to enforce by appropriate legislations the provisions of this article. Amendment 15. Section 1. The right of the citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous conditions of servitude. Section 2. The Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Amendment 16. The Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes on incomes from whatever source derived without apportionment among the several states and without regard to any census or enumeration. And there you have it. Taxation is not technically theft, it's constitutional in certain facets of our life. Amendment 17. The Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state, elected by the people thereof for 6 years, and each senator shall have 1 vote. The electors in each state shall have the qualification requisite for electors of the most numerous branch of the state legislatures. When vacancies happen in the representation of any state in the Senate, the executive authority of such state shall issue writs of election to fill such vacancies, provided that the legislature of any state may empower the executive thereof to make temporary appointments until the people fill the vacancies by election as the legislature may direct. This amendment shall not be construed as to affect the election or term of any senator chosen before it becomes valid as part of the Constitution. Amendment 18 was the Prohibition Amendment, which, as we know, there's no more prohibition. We can drink alcohol now. This entire amendment was repealed by the 21st Amendment, so we're going to move on to Amendment 19. Amendment 19. The right of the citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. Women can vote. Section 2. The Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. And Amendment 20. Section 1. The terms of the President and Vice President shall end at noon on the 20th of January, and the terms of senators and representatives at noon on the 3rd day of January, of the years in which such terms would have ended if this article had not been ratified, and the terms of their successors shall then begin. Section 2. The Congress shall assemble at least once in every year, and such meeting shall begin at noon on the 3rd day of January, unless they shall by law appoint a different day. Section 3. If at the time fixed for the beginning of the term of the President-elect shall have died, the Vice President-elect shall become President. If a President shall not have been chosen before the time fixed for the beginning of his term, or if the President-elect shall have failed to qualify, then the Vice President-elect shall act as President until a President shall have qualified. And the Congress may by law provide for the case wherein neither a President-elect nor a Vice President-elect shall have qualified, declaring who shall then act as President, or the manner in which one who is to act shall be selected, and such persons shall act accordingly until a President or Vice President shall have qualified. Section 4. The Congress may by law provide for the case of the death of any of the persons from whom the House of Representatives may choose a President, whenever the right of choice shall have devolved upon them, and for the case of the death of any of the persons from whom the Senate may choose a Vice President, whenever the right of choice shall have devolved upon them. Section 5. Sections 1 and 2 shall take effect on the 15th day of October following the ratification of this article. So it took effect of October of 1933. Section 6. This article shall be inoperative unless it shall have been ratified as an amendment to the Constitution by the legislatures of three-fourths of the several states within 7 years from the date of its submission. So unless it had been voted on, so if it had been voted on after 7 years, it wouldn't have been available for submission and we wouldn't have that amendment. Thank you guys for joining me once again. I appreciate it. If you haven't watched the rest of the episodes, go ahead and check those out down below. If you go ahead and leave a subscribe and a like, that would be awesome. Leave comments down below about maybe different politicians that you want to see in the coming weeks. Me discuss how their political standpoints may be unconstitutional. Thanks, you guys. Until next time, have a good one. And remember, this is your USA.